All right, and we live. Peace and Black Power, family. I want to welcome everybody to another NCRBGZ Productions. Yes, it's no other than your host, me, Stuart Fields. I'm glad to be in the land of the living. You know, we got a lot of chaos going on, a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And, today we want to sit down, and we want to talk about America's new Civil War. Again, America's new Civil War. What side are you on? Should we choose sides? These are some of the questions that, we're going to have to answer today. America's new Civil War. What side are you on? Should we even choose sides? These are some of the things that we're going to discuss tonight in this show. So, without further ado, I want to introduce some of the panel members. So, I'm going to give the panel members an opportunity to introduce themselves to the family, and we're going to go from there. So, we're going to start with Julie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm Stuart's friend, and I'm supporting from UK, a place called Wolverhampton near Birmingham, second city.
All right, thank you.
UK, a place called Wolverhampton near Birmingham.
Yeah, gotta have that continental connections going, and make it sound real official. I think we got Justice. Hey, Justice, can you hear me, bro?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Introduce yourself to the family.
All right. Yeah, I'm Justice, Altric Hayes' son.
All right, we're glad to have you here, man. I know you got that fire with you, bro. Got that fire with you. I
Yes,
already
sir.
know if you're anything like your father. All right.
Yes, sir.
So let me see. And next we got Al Tariq.
Hey, peace, family. Hey, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, loud and clear.
My name is Tariq Hayes, founder and CEO of the Starting Point FG here locally in Fayetteville, North Carolina / Hope Mills. I grew up in a hospital in North Carolina. Ran with Jason Barnes growing up through high school, grade school, and recently met Brother Stewart about a year or so here now. Hey, man, I'm a huge supporter of NCRBGs, and they do the same likewise for us. So I'm just here, man. I'm loving the topic so far that I heard. I caught a glimpse of it for the night show.
All right, that's what's up. All right, so again, like you just said, the topic is America's new Civil War. And what side are you on? Should we choose sides? Some more of the topics is America in the beginning stages of a civil war? Is removing the Confederate statues one of the answers? What should African Americans be doing? Is Donald Trump the reason for all this chaos in America? Are we being used to push someone else's agenda? Let's talk about it. Because for all, I know most people is aware of what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia last weekend, where you had a rally of the alt-right, white nationalists, along with some white supremacist groups, and they also had militia groups there as well they all wanted to protest the removal of a statue at a college in Virginia. It was of a racist man. I can't think of his name right now. And the name really doesn't even matter to me. But, you know, they was protesting and they had anti-protesters there. And, you know, violence broke out. One of the white supremacists decided to drive their car, use their vehicle as a form, as a weapon, and plow into people, killed the young woman. And since that has happened, it seems like it has turned up the heat as far as relations in America pertaining to Confederate statues that are placed in various places around the United States. So you have Baltimore that have removed their Confederate statues overnight. In Raleigh, North Carolina, the students pulled the statue down. People are being arrested. So right now, a lot of people are focusing on removing statues, especially of the Confederate Army. You know, it started with the flag, the Confederate flag, removing that last year. And I think that we need to discuss what is going on and put it in its proper context so we can analyze the situation and make wise decisions and stop being reactionary. Just reacting without actually thinking about why we are reacting and what is the purpose of us reacting. So I'm going to jump right in because I feel as if we have already been in this civil war, but it was a cold war. It wasn't an actual physical, we was in a cold war, a cold civil war in America. Now, the media says you have the far right versus the far left. But I don't see it that way. And I'm going to call it the way I see it. I see you have a civil war in America that's fought between two factions. You have the white nationalists and you have the Jews. And they are in a civil war fighting for the control of the United States, just like the last civil war was fought over. So what we must do is we have to analyze this stuff. We have to sit back and learn from history. Because I'm a student of history. So I like to examine history so we don't make the same mistakes that we made before. So first off, I'm going to deal with the statues. And this is my opinion. This is the way I feel. I'm speaking for Stuart Fields, not NCRBG. I'm speaking for me. The way I feel about these statues is we need to stop aligning ourselves with other organizations or other people to pull down these people's statues. Whether we agree with who they were and what they did or not, it is not our place to pull their statues down. Because that is their history at the end of the day. That is these people's history. Whether we like it or we don't, that is their history. And who are we to dictate and tell them what these iconic figures in their eyes should or should not be able to be in certain places? Especially when you know the history of the United States. So are we gonna single out a certain group of people in historic times that we want to demolish all their statues? Didn't an organization do that a couple years ago? Didn't ISIS go and destroy a lot of ancient artifacts over there in the Middle East? Ain't this something similar to what we saw when the Berlin Wall fell, or when Saddam Hussein fell? This is something very similar, where people are destroying property. And I feel as if when it comes to America, and as far as African Americans, we need to slow down and pay attention to what's really going on, because we fighting somebody else's war. Because tearing a statue down is not power, it's just symbolic. It's just a symbolic gesture. That's all it is. It's symbolic. But what are we actually getting out of it? Another question is, once we tear their statues down, what's next? I mean, Donald Trump asked a good question. Are they going to tear George Washington statues down? He owned slaves. What about Abraham Lincoln? Are they going to tear Abraham Lincoln statue down? He owned slaves. Or are they just going to focus on a certain group or demographic of people, statues, and they want to tear them down? Now, I told y'all we're in a civil war. So we're in a civil war. So who pulling the strings to get these statues pulled down? Who is actually behind this? Who is financing this? What is the motivational factors for now we want to remove all these statues? What's the motivation behind it? These statues have been here for a long time. They didn't just pop up. So what is the motivation for now is the time that we need to remove them? That's poking. You poking somebody. Who are you poking? Who have been being poked lately? I mean, let's think about it. Let's be realistic. We got some Civil War statues of Africans who fought in the Civil War as well. What's going to happen when they want to tear our statues down? When they want to start tearing our Civil War monuments of African Americans who fought in the war, and they say they want to tear them statues down, what are we going to do then? You can't cry wolf. What you going to say? So what they are doing, they are picking and choosing who they are targeting. And we are falling right in line without even thinking about it. That's the way I feel about it. We're falling right in line for the okie doke. And we're being hoodwinked again, being manipulated to fight a war that we really don't have no cause in. We really don't. Just like the first Civil War. The first Civil War, it wasn't fought for us. This was for the control of America. And we wasn't included until they felt like we can be used to benefit one side or the other. But this Civil War really wasn't fought for African Americans. This was a civil war fought between the Jews and the white nationalists. I can even take this situation back to the first Civil War. But I'm gonna calm down. Do anybody want something to say? I'm giving y'all the opportunity to jump in at any moment and jump in. Because if not, I'm gonna go.
Hey, go, brother, go. We listen.
Okay. Well, let's deal with now we're gonna deal with the choosing of sides. I mean, because we got to be real about this. Who control the media? Who got the money, man? Let's be frank. Let's not play games. I ain't gonna listen. I ain't playing games. Who got the money? Who controlling Hollywood? Who actually control this? Who control the media? We know who control it. The Jews control it. So by controlling the media and what we see, they control the narrative. So what is the narrative as soon as you turn on TV? What is the narrative? They changing the narrative whenever they feel like it, and we keep falling for it. We ain't looking to pay attention that they are playing us like we puppets on strings. And now it's to the point where they are poking the white nationalists and they falling for it, just like we fell for it when they kept showing cops killing black people in the street. They've been doing that forever. It ain't been no peak in it. It ain't been an uprise in it. They've been doing that forever. The only difference is they decided to reporting on it more often. Black people are still being killed in the street by the cops, but they don't report on it as much as they was doing last year. Because they're controlling and manipulating the people through the narrative to make us do what they want us to do. So now they're poking at the white nationalists. This is a backlash for Donald Trump winning the presidency. That's what this is. This is backlash. So now they're poking at the white nationalists. And they fell for it. Listen, them people, they applied for permits to march, whether we like what they stand for or not. They had the permission of the state, of the college, to protest. They planned this. They planned with the police all along. So this ain't nothing like this just happened. They had been planning on this for a while. So they knew what was happening. They didn't do this illegally. They done this by the law of the land. So they protest. So you got people counter protesting, them protesting. But did the counter protesters get permits? Did they get permission? If we're gonna be real about it, if we're gonna be real about the situation, did they or did they not? But yet we're so ready to jump on the we're so ready to jump on the narrative of these white supremacists or these white nationalists, and not even understanding that they was within the limits of the law to protest. And hold on, and I'm gonna tell y'all something. The first nature of law is survival. So black people, we need to start taking lessons from what we're seeing. Because the first nature of law is survival. It's survival. But for some odd reason, we have lost that thought process of survival. So we see everything that they doing as something negative when they fighting for their survival. Well, when you look at animals in the wild, what do animals in the wild do? An animal gonna fight to survive because that is in our nature. That's in our nature, is to fight to survive. That is something that don't have to be taught. It's innate in us. But somehow we have swallowed that and forgotten that ourselves. So what we would do is, in turn, we're gonna align, oh man, they racist. Oh man, they what, I can't think of the white dude name. He was racist. All of them was racist. All of them were. I don't care who you look back when you deal, when you deal with America and the founding fathers of America. Legal or not illegal. I don't care if it was legal or if it was not legal or if it was illegal. It was immorally wrong. So they had to be racist. Thomas Jefferson was a white supremacist. Listen, let me tell y'all something, man. We cannot allow certain people to control the narrative and mess us up. So we end up fighting their fight and not understanding that the fight that we're fighting for them is not helping us. What is it going to do? What is going to happen tearing the statues down? What is it going to do? I mean, come on, man. I need somebody to talk to me. What is this really? What is it going to get accomplished? What is the end goal? Once we tear all the statues down, then what? Then what? What's next? They're going to change the narrative and go into something else. We're being played and they're pushing the agenda. They're pushing the agenda hard. It's real hard, the agenda that they're pushing. And we need to, as African Americans, we need to decide, what are we going to do in this civil war? Because whether we like it or not, America's in a civil war. Whether you like it or not, it's here. So now the question is, what side are we going to be on? Are we going to use this to our benefit? Or are we just going to play ball, pick a side, and then after it's all said and over with, we're going to still be ran over? Like, how can we use this to our advantage? And don't let them fool you with this Democrat-Republican mess. Because it's hogwash. Democrats or Republicans, it is hogwash. When it comes to the African-American struggle in America, I don't care what you call yourself. When it comes to African-Americans, we're being killed. Bottom line, we've been giving the Democrats our votes for how long? And what have they really done for us? Let's be real. Let's be real. What has that vote really accomplished and gave us? It's allowing a certain group of people to assume power. And now they buying up stuff in the hospital. Oh yeah, they buying up stuff in the hospital. The nursing homes are being bought up right now in the town of Ahoskie by Jews. Bottom line, it's happening. Man, I don't even listen. Listen, man. They buying up the stuff in the hospital right now. So while we sitting around here worried about a certain group of people, and the people that we call ourselves aligning with is infiltrating and tearing us apart. The NAACP, who started the NAACP? We know who financed them. The Urban League, who financed them? Are them symbolic? Was them symbolic gestures that was made? Let's analyze this stuff. That's a whole different show though, but we analyze it. Was it symbolic? Is it the same thing going on now with these statues? Symbolic? No, they're poking the enemy, man. They're poking the enemy. Now, when ISIS was tearing up statues of artifacts in Iraq and Syria, they were called terrorists. The way the narrative in which they showed what was going on was completely different compared to the narrative of what they're showing of going on today in America. But again, who controls the narrative? Who controls it? Big money controls it. So they make it look how they want to make it look. Because whether we agree with it or not, that is history. That is a part of American history. It is. So by it being a part of American history, are we rewriting it? You gonna take it out of history? It's a game, y'all. They playing a game, and we falling for it. So is Donald Trump the reason for the chaos? Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah, he the reason for the chaos. But he ain't no more the reason for the chaos than the last president. That's just what it is, man.
Oh,
And Yeah, I know it don't sound good, but it is. Because who controlled, let me tell y'all something, man. Who controlled, who was the money behind who was the money behind the last president? Who put the money behind him? Who put the money behind Barack Obama? Who put the money behind him? Who financed them? Are we gonna be real, or we want to sit around here and romanticize things? Or are we gonna be real about it? Wall Street financed them. We know who financed them. Wall Street financed them. Now, what happened before he won the election? What did Wall Street do? They almost put us in a recession because they stole money. They stole money. Now, who went to jail? Who went to jail for all that money they stole? Can I get a name of somebody? Did anybody go to jail? I ain't read of nobody went to jail. Because the same people that stole the money financed the president. But we don't want to talk about that. Because we're looked in the illusion of inclusion. We're looking at the complexion for the protection. We're looking at the brother. Oh, he a brother. Okay, yes. But who put that brother in office? Who was the money behind him? Who was turning that engine? And you can see. It's so, man, Ray Charles can see this stuff. A blind man can see this. But sometimes it's hard to be honest about stuff, man. Because we want to romanticize. And we want to look at things the wrong way. What laws was passed, man? Let's man, we get off that. I'm gonna get off that, man. Go ahead, Altarik.
Oh no, I was just saying, you getting into it now. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Yeah, nah. You touched on a lot of things that how they say the wool be poured over our eyes when it comes down to what's really going on. I was just waiting. I was listening and I was waiting till you got to the part that says, you know, what do we do during this time of so-called civil war?
Jump on in, man. Jump on in. We got 3 viewers. I want to thank the people that's watching. The show. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all can write a comment if y'all want to. But I thank y'all for watching, man. But you know, like, it's serious, man, and we need to analyze this stuff, man. And we need to stop, you know, romanticizing about shit. We gotta stop it, man. It's too late in the game for this, man. We can't be out here trying to tear these people's statues down. For what? For what? Like, really, for what? Are we gonna, after we tear them down, are we going after the founders of America? Do you think, do y'all think that you're gonna be able to tear George Washington's statue down? Come on, come on, y'all, man. Like, come on. Come on, people. They are playing a game and we falling for it. Just like North Korea, falling for it. And me personally, I felt like they poked us, but we didn't respond to give them what they wanted because black people have become soft. You want me to listen, we ain't like we used to be. Because they poked us for the last 3.5 years, but we never gave them the response that they really wanted. So guess what they decided to do now? They gonna poke the white nationalists now. And the difference is they got militias. They've been training for war. Man, we better look at how they're prepared and get prepared ourselves. That's our strategy, is to get prepared ourselves and stop allowing them to control and hoodwink us, man. It's people, man, listen, folks calling, they want everywhere now. Now everywhere these statues, everywhere now. Everybody is ready to tear them down. Everywhere, Greenville, Norfolk. I mean, they ready. For what? Like, what's going to happen after that? What's next? That's my question. When you play chess, what you do when you play chess? You have to make strategic moves. So when you make a move, you got to have this stuff planned out 3-4 moves ahead. What is the possibilities? You know, can this rook get my queen? Like, I mean, you got to strategize. So while we being reactive, and we're deciding that, okay, we want the statues to come down. It was somebody else's narrative to start taking them down. We just jumped on the bandwagon. So what's the next move, though? What's the next move? What are we going to do when they come out the Harriet Tubman statue? What are we going to do when they come out the Martin Luther King statue? What are we going to do when they start coming after our heroes, our Civil War veterans, black ones? What are we going to do when they start to want to tear ours down? How are we going to feel? What is going to be our leg to stand on if we are sitting around not only helping, but also deciding to tear their, like, come on, man, like, wake up. We have to start using our brain. Look, somebody else jump in. Somebody else jump in. Anybody? Julie. Al Tariq, somebody jump in.
Oh, okay. Well, when you got to the part that says, what are we going to do? Or what are we going to do, or what should we do in the time of Civil War? Well, first off, you hit it on the head when you said they've been preparing for war. But the war that I believe that they've been preparing for ain't so much physical war. And they've been not only preparing for war, they've been positioning themselves and applying their training. Now, granted, you do have those backwoods that's out there teaching their sons and daughters, you know, how to shoot, how to do all this, but violence to them is not the key, right? They can squeeze us as much, like you said, in the last few years they've been poking, but the poking that I believe that they've been doing hasn't necessarily been towards violence, right? They just want to see what arsenal do we have. And when I say we, I don't necessarily mean a race or a skin color. I'm talking about the lower to middle class individuals. Granted, you got lower middle class individuals on their side, but like you said, if somebody can finance a president, then those lower middle class on their side ain't so much worried about their finances or what they has positioned themselves with, because they know they got backing power. So what I say we do is not only unify and come to know who we are and what, but here's the thing. We have to be honest and analyze what powers do we have. And when you look at that, honestly assess the situation, what powers do we have? I don't think we have enough power in the land itself, all right? And amongst the land, what can we do outside of a violent act or a physical act like tearing down statues or whatever like that? What I think that's the only thing that we can turn to, because that's the only type of individual or group power that we believe that we have, and the belief may be true. So what do we have to bring to the table in our unification? When we unify, and we get in our small groups or large groups, and we analyze our rooms to see who can do what. If all fails and all war broke out, and we had to back up off the grid, who can survive? Who can live off the land or wherever they're at? You know, we got a microwave in every household almost, and a stove. Can you go without that? We're renting from those who may choose a side, and their side might be to pull those leases. All you got is 30 days. So if all of them that own these lands and houses and properties all got together and said, okay, too easy, 30 days, vacate. Where do you go? Who do you turn to? Many of us on our side don't own much that we can turn and house others. So are we going to be lost in the wilderness? Where do we go from there? So at the end of the day, putting ourselves in the position over these amount of years, in the position of vulnerability, that's why in the years that they've been poking, no resistance has really sparked up, because a lot of people have things to lose. So that's why they won't react or respond. You can't even get a black person to actually in public just speak their mind. You know what I'm saying? Because they got something to lose. Oh, I can't say this because I'll be on my job or this that. It's certain people, and like you said, who's running this stuff? Who's promoting the narrative? Who has the avenues that can shut us down? So it's a lot of people that said, man, I can't watch this show on the internet. I can't comment. I can't post this type of stuff because my job is monitoring my social media. Well, look, if you can't even speak your mind, then your freedom of speech has been taken away. Just on the strength of an income, they got your freedom of speech. So you gave up your right to free speech. All in the hole. Somebody, one of my good friends of a different nationality than myself, asked me a question about a post that I posted up, and they was like, and I mean, this is a brother of mine, you know what I mean, Army brother, and other types of brother, right? And he asked me, he goes, what do you mean by that? Do you mean blacks? You a champion for black mankind or all mankind? And if anybody got me on social media, you can go and find that post on my page. And my response to him may have shocked him, but the first thing that I said to him was, man, you know me well enough to understand that black mankind is first, and then all other mankind comes next. Not to say that I'm against anyone else. It's just who I choose to be a champion for first, right? And he never responded back. So in the midst of that, not getting off topic, for one, we have to stand up. However we choose to do so. I mean, just plant 2 feet on the ground and stand up and be who you are. And at the end of the day, then your brother or sister to the right or left of you can really see what they're dealing with. But when we got individuals who will hide on this occasion, if you hide on a post because you got something to lose, or if you hide on a conversation and can't comment or watch a certain show, what would you do if all war, physical type war, broke out? We're going to have a lot of people on the other side, and we're going to be like, dang, man, I thought such and such was down for the cause, or I thought such and such would at least doggone, if don't even fight, just at least be on our side, might can render aid to somebody or something. But no, we're going to be shocked to see that's going to be a whole bunch of individuals that we really look up to or look to join forces, and hey, we ain't going to see them, brother, because they thinking 2 and 3 chess moves ahead. They thinking what it's gonna be like when this war is over. If I show myself to be on this side when this war is over, what do I gain and what do I lose? If I show myself to be on this side when this war is over, what do I gain, what do I lose? And then when they balance out the two, they're trying to see which one will they be able to profit from the most. If they feel like when this war is over that our side ain't gonna have too much to offer, then hell, they're gonna ride out with those who they can ride off their backs of at the end of the day. So my take to it, what do? We unify, we level up, and you hit on that when you hit the chess moves. We level up, meaning we must gain 2 and 3 steps ahead of where we are right now. And that's in a big picture scale. And then once we level up, we'll be able to power up, and now we can actually fight a fair fight.
I agree. And something else we gotta use, and this the main ingredient, is that juju power, baby. Or some people will say that spiritual power. That's something that we must really get back in touch with, because the spiritual war and our spiritual power, or as I like to say, kundalini power, or that juju power, is where our true advantage is at. See, when I speak of war, I don't speak of it in the traditional sense of fighting, hand-to-hand combat and shooting, and I don't speak it in that sense, because in that sense we are outnumbered, outmanned. We don't have the weaponry. We don't have nothing that can compare to what the other sides have. But what we do have that they do not have is that connection to nature. Or some people say the connection to God. However you want to word it. We have that spiritual connection. And that is our true power. See, for us to take advantage of this situation, we have to get in touch spiritually. That's all we have to do. We have to get back in touch with nature. And that is in itself will destroy all our enemies. Because guess what? Everything, every weapon that is used, it has to be used off the laws of nature. Every weapon, bullets, anything that you can think of, it has to work off through the laws of nature. And that is where we can touch and we can get back in touch with and actually start harnessing that energy. And that is where all game over. But until we get to that point, we have to still be prepared. Get ourselves in a situation that we are able to do for one another and stop being so dependent on those who don't have our best interests at hand. See, we can't be so dependent on those, like you said, renting from people that don't have our best interests, or not growing our own fruit or foods. We don't even domesticate animals no more. Most people don't even got chickens in their yard no more. I mean, let's be real. So we are basically, they are spoon feeding us everything. They are spoon feeding us everything. Everything that we need to survive, we depend on them to provide.
So and would you say that is modern day slavery?
Actually, and that's exactly where I'm headed. That's exactly where I'm headed with it. Because when you was talking about those who are not willing to even comment on posts because they are afraid, that to me is somebody that have given up, not have given up, but are in total control. They have lost control of themselves, and now they're being controlled by other things or outside forces as far as a job, paying bills. They're basically being controlled by the suit box or the TV in my eyes. They're like zombies, just walking around waiting for the next digital download through the social media. You get what I'm saying? That's the way I feel about it. So we have to start again using what we have. This is our potential. Besides the spiritual aspect, the only other potential we have is up in here. And that is through the spiritual realm, or through juju, or through our ancestors. That is where we will prevail. But as far as this Civil War in America, what we really have to do, we have to stop depending on those who do not have our best interest, and we also have to revert back to some old traditional ways. We have to revert back to getting in touch and dealing with each other on a spiritual side. We have to get back to that, and we so far removed from it that it really is sad. It's saddening because we're not there spiritually no more. We're not in touch with nature no more, and that's our way out. Nature is the way out. In touch with nature, being one with nature. Because once you are one with nature, you can start controlling nature through your ancestors. So it's a lot with it, man. But we have to prepare. We can't sit around here and let them manipulate us. Leave them folk statues alone. Leave their statues alone, man. Just leave their history alone. And let's stop worrying about other people, and let's start worrying about ourselves. Let's start worrying about ourselves, man. Like, let's start taking care of what we can take care of. And let's stop focusing on things that really is here or there. Those statues been there. They've been there. Man, listen, leave that.
Can I jump in right quick?
Go ahead, jump in.
Okay, so when it comes down to their history, let's just talk about ours for a second. One of the things that's been put in place over the years through school and society is that we remain stuck in our history. Now, at the end of the day, we don't forget. We must know our history, our ancestors, what they done to put us in a positive position today. But at the end of the day, if we stay with our heads turned in the rear position, looking back, always looking back to our history to find someone great, we'll never realize or recognize the work that's being done today. And one of those things that's been put in place is that anybody all the way from, I'll say, from those most recent that they drilling us to look up to and honor Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Now, from that time on to now, and it's been played out through history forever, but from that time to now, anybody who came up after those two guys has been shot down through the media and others to discredit their work. Now, granted, everybody doesn't have our best interests in mind, even if they so-called are on our side. But at the end of the day, they can bring something to the table because when we talk about unifying, I might look to the next man somewhat knowing his history or somewhat knowing who he is, and I might be thinking to myself, oh, man, Joe Blow right here, he on my side, man, but I remember when he did this or or he snaked here and there. But still, we need everyone who we can get. So let's just go to your brother Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, brothers like that. That was what they call ambulance chasers. When something happened only on one side, first thing that they want to do is shoot them down. All Al Sharpton, they all about loudmouth and racist themselves. That's what the media said. Oh, they're racist and they're loudmouth this. Brother Dr. Umar Johnson. We can come all the way back to the day. Everybody that comes out and try to either speak out on our behalf or do real work on our behalf, they're discredited. Now, here's the upsetting part. The upsetting part is we fall right in line. You hear so many of us, oh, man, forget Al Sharpton, forget Jesse Jackson, forget Brother Umar Johnson, forget Brother Polite. Anybody else who try to really doggone enlighten us, for one, who we are, for two, how to carry ourselves, is going to be shot down in the main media, in the mainstream media. And then that, if so much of that is put out there, we're going to start believing it. Because guess what? We get all of our information from the television or the radio or the newspaper or what. I tell somebody, man, how did you find out about that? They never say, oh, man, we got a group that we do these meetings and, we got somebody on the inside of this organization and, they leak this information out to us and it's hush hush, whatever. It's never that. It's always, oh, man, I seen it on TV. I read it in this article. I'm like, okay, the first thing I want to say, did you fact check? Did you research that that media source? Where did that article come from? Where did you trace that? And then did you cross-reference? Did you see if there was any more articles out there from any other media source outside of mainstream media? Because if it ain't, man, we really got to go into our library and start reading. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I would say when it comes to history, we have to continuously create history. We have to continuously create history. So I'm more of a what they call present and future. Today, who do we have doing something? Okay, Brother Stewart. Okay, now once we look at Brother Stewart, I'm just using you, brother, for an example, but we have Brother Stewart doing something. Who do we have joining forces with him? Who do we have supporting him? Who do we have going to him saying, what can I do? And then not only just supporting and listening to him, but working with him. He give a task, go out and do this. So that's present day. Now, future, we have individuals that is in that teenage range, because we don't school our kids no more on a lot of different topics and a lot of different areas. We have those that can pick up knowledge and put them in a great position from what we know now. I was just talking to one of my cousins today, and I said, I'll be damned if my kids can be in their 30s and use the famous saying that I've heard all my life. If I knew then what I know now, I'll be in a better position. So I don't want my kids or my nieces and nephews or the kids in my community or anyone, a younger generation, saying, man, I wish I knew then what I know now, I'll be in a better position. So parents, anybody who's listening on YouTube live right now or here on the show with us, parents, if you're a parent, your kids should not be believing in traditional things that we know that has been proven to hold us back. Crazy. It's crazy, but I'm telling you, okay, they go to school 8 hours a day and they learn whatever someone else wants them to know. And granted, in some cases, they might have to do that. But then at the end of the day, when they get back home into our households, what's the conversation around the dinner? Are we even having a conversation around the dinner table? Are we even cutting off some of the things sometimes and just ask them questions? What do you think about this? What do you know about that? Do you even know about this? And see where they're coming from. Then we shut up and listen. Okay. Once we find out the basis of their knowledge or lack of, we must feed that. So we can't do any future work if we don't pour into the present, those that's around us right now.
I'm with you. I agree with you. And when I hear that, everything I hear that is in the present is also, it's just stuff we done in the past. We just doing it in a modern sense. So that's the way I look at it. See, that's the good thing about when you deal with nature. You can look at nature, or you can look at our problems of the past. And the good thing about when you're African centered, it always adjusts. You can, with science and technology, it always adjusts to the period at which you're in, because the purpose is for us to find answers to our problems. So when you look in the past, right, and you look at some of the problems that used to go on, let's say 200 years ago, well, the purpose of being in tune with nature and using juju or your spiritual sense was to find a solution to that problem at that time period. So just because the solution that you may have had 200 years ago for your problem may not be the same solution for today, but you go through the same process of finding the solution of today. That's the key. From an African-centered perspective, we have always found solutions to our problems through nature, always, or juju, or the spiritual sense. No matter how you want to word it, we have always found solutions through our problem that way. And it's happening today. Our solutions to our problem is going to come through the same way it always has. And that's our gift. That is what we have that's going to make sure that we're going to continue to thrive and stay in our position as long as we humble ourselves and stay within the confines of nature. So I agree with you, Altariq. I'm with you, because you have to, if you stay in the past, you can never look forward. But what you have to take from the past is the systems and the mechanisms and the ways that they've done things and apply it to today, and you're going to get the same results.
True
That's just
indeed.
like that's like the last show I was talking about when I said hip hop was our form of meduneta, or how we always communicated through songs. We communicate certain things through us. This is historically, no matter how far back you go, we have always communicated through each other through sounds, whether if it was the drum, whether if it was, no matter, as you move on to modern times, we always found a way to communicate with each other. And we can sing one thing, but to us it means something totally different than somebody else that's hearing it. Even with the drums, I'm just saying that is how we have always done this. Now, it may be a different tune today than it was 1,000 years ago, but it's still the same system that's just being used. But we're always going to find ways to get out of the situations that we're in. As long as we humble ourselves, get in our spiritual, use our ancestors, we will always find ways to better ourselves and get back into situations where we are at top. So this civil war in America is bound to happen. When you if you take the biblical narrative, this has to happen. America has to fall. For the Messiah, according to the biblical narrative, this has to happen. So even no matter what way you look at it, well, it's different ways you can look at it, but I'm just saying, like, some of this stuff has to happen, But my thing is, you have to, if we've been on the bottom for so long, and now we're starting to rise to the top, don't nobody just relinquish power. You get what I'm saying? People hold on to power. They ain't just gonna give it to you. Sometimes you got to take it. But just because you have to take it don't mean you have to take it violently. You can take it in other senses, in other ways. Like you can take it just by nature wiping them out. I mean, it's so many ways that you can look at this and you can still see the same result coming. We're gonna get the same end game, regardless of what route we take, because it just has to happen. But what we must do is stop allowing other people to control the narrative for us and stop being reactionaries. Stop reacting so much and let's start preparing. So when things happen, we don't have to come up with a reaction because we are already prepared. We're already prepared for it to happen. So right now, you have white on white crime that's happening all over America. I'm talking about at a higher rate. Now, listen, it's a possibility that it's always been going on, but now the news is focusing on it more. But you know how we are. We can't let you outdo us. So we got to find a way to get in there too now. So, it's like, man, this is a tough situation. Things are happening. This been going on for a while. This ain't new. This proxy war, it was a Cold War for a long time. But now it's starting to heat up. It's starting to heat up. And, people are manipulating people, family. So we just don't need to let them play us. We need to sit back and analyze what's really going on and build and be prepared. Let's be self-sustainable. Because at the end of the day, we are going to get where we're supposed to be. It's in us. It's innate. We just got to use the tools and, just use the tools and use our intuition. And we're going to get where we need to get. We're going to get where we're supposed to be. And something we have to also realize is that, in this fight, to get where we need to get, it's going to be white people that's going to help us too. Because their future is tied to ours. It is. Their future is tied to our future. And that's a whole different conversation. But they work hand in hand. So with that being said, let's not let the media manipulate us anymore, man. As soon as I turn on TV, they he didn't denounce them. He didn't denounce. Trump didn't denounce. Trump didn't denounce. Trump did not denounce them acts. Trump did not. And I'm saying to myself, okay, what is denouncing going to do? They the ones elected this man. So are you going to denounce your base once they elect you? No. Trump is a white nationalist. I ain't gonna call him a white supremacist, but I'm gonna call him a white nationalist. But that's Trump. That's who he is. And I'm a black nationalist. That's what I am. So that's just the way I see things. So anybody got it? Julie, you want to say anything? Justice?
Hey, concerning this thing, I don't understand. To pick a side, let them fight it out for themselves, and then if by force you have to join, maybe yes, pick a side. But for now, I don't understand why black folk feel the need to jump in. As an outsider, it looks strange to me. Let them do their thing, and let's see the end result first before you jump in. I don't know if I'm making sense. As for you know, you keep talking about nature and all that stuff, and how can I put it? Me living in Britain, we don't suffer racism in the same way you guys do. It sounds really strange to me when you say, you know, you support. How can I put it? Like you're all for black folk and only black folk this and that, and we're living in a time where you can't just judge a person by the color of their skin or support someone by the color of their skin. You have to study the content of their heart, and you have to have a spirit of discernment to know who's for you and who's not for you. Just because someone's black doesn't mean they're going to be on your side or help you. It's every man for himself sometimes in certain situations when push comes to shove. So just a black side or a white side is a bit silly sometimes in my eyes. Just my opinion.
Okay. Julie, I ain't gonna push you tonight. Hey, anybody else got anything to say?
Oh no, man. Hey, I think that was a very good comment. And you have anything you want to say? I have something I want to say.
But Julie, I say this. I will say this. When you look at black and white, when you look at color, right? Now, as far as discernment, you have people of color that are not for you. And I'm not one to say that I'm not one to I'm a realistic, but I'm not one to say that every white person is bad. I'm not one to say that. But I am one that will say that I would rather be with my own. And that in itself is just the way I look at it is I want to take care of my kids first. When I go to the store, when I go shopping, I make sure my kids eat first. Not that I'm saying that I don't want no other kid to eat. That ain't what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I'm going to take care of my own first. And I think that is normal. I don't think there's nothing wrong with wanting to take care of your own first. I don't see nothing wrong with that. So I just believe in taking care of my own house before I worry about the next door neighbor. I can't love my neighbor if I don't love my own self. I can't worry about the next person's children if I ain't worried about my own. I have to take care of my own first. Then once I take care of my own, then I may be able to help somebody else. But that's just self-preservation. That's all that is. And to me, that's the laws of nature. That's even with plants. I mean, trees, anything, it's going to take care of itself first. That's not being selfish or being racist. That's just, to me, that's common sense. You take care, I'm going to take care of my children before I take care of somebody else's kids. So does that make me a bad person? If it do, then I'm a bad person. But that's the way I see it. So when I see race as family. That's the way I see it. I see race as family. And I believe you take care of your family first. That's all I
Yeah,
gotta say.
let me jump in on that. Now I understand exactly where she's coming from when she say, find discernment and looking to the hearts of each individual, no matter what the skin tone, and that's exactly what we should be doing. At the end of the day, my comment to that friend, well, my post that I posted clearly stated, um, my brothers and sisters first, and then so just with that one word saying first doesn't make it a statement that say the hell with everybody else, or it doesn't make it a statement that say anything leaning towards racism. Because I believe that racism, you can't have racism without power. So you can make statements, but if you don't have the power to interrupt someone else's life, you can't be racist. So at the end of the day, like Stuart said, when it comes to his own household. And then going back to what Julie said about seeing, someone's heart or from the actions of what they do and just judging them or, you know, siding off of that. Well, I say like this, like I look at family reunions, right? When we used to have family reunions, I'm just talking about my family. We might have 200 and some people at a family reunion, and the hearts and minds of most of those individuals. And you probably got some bad things to say about some family and knowing their character, but at the end of the day, no one else, you might get an argument or a fight with your family, but no one else can. No one else can come up to this reunion with a different T-shirt on and a different last name and claim to be popping off at my family first. And claim to be popping off at my family first, because then, I have to stand up for my family, regardless of the situation. After everything's said and done, yeah, then into how Stuart said, taking the practices of our people from back in the day. Then once I get them alone out of the public eye, I check them. Look, man, that was uncalled for. Da da da. But now we both wiping our scabs or our sores, and we gonna have that conversation. And then maybe next time it'll be handled in a different light. That's the only thing I'm saying about family first.
Okay. Yeah, Julie, I agree with you, Julie. I understand what you mean, though. I understand what you mean as far as discernment and you know, um, not looking at the color of the skin, but we just in a polarized time, and that's just the way it is right now. And so like I feel more comfortable around my own people. So that does that make me a bad person? I think a lion would feel more comfortable around a lion than around tigers or bears. That's the way I look at it. So and that's just the way I see things. So that's just the way I see it. But I can understand where you coming from because I guess it's a little bit different over there, and your experience is different over there than over here. But so teach his own. But I think it was a good show, and I thank everybody for watching. So with what's going on in America, family, and this new civil war, we just need to sit back and observe it. Don't pick one way or the other. Don't let nobody use us for their benefit. We need to sit back and play chess, man. At the end of the day, that's all we should do is play chess. Do any one of y'all, Julie or Altreek, y'all want to end the show with a prayer? Um, and if y'all do, I'm gonna go say what I have to say. Then I'll let one of y'all close out. So, you know, we started our Rosa Parks Sankofa Academy yesterday. I actually taught one of our ancient African classes yesterday to the children. And I just wanted to say that I thank all the parents for bringing their children, and also thank the parents for coming and just giving me the opportunity, not saying that I'm authority in it, but just to tell the little bit that I do know. And I just want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to pass along some of the things that I've been taught, so I can pass it on to the next generation. We will be having class at our building on Mondays. It's going to be our Spanish class. Wednesdays is going to be African, not only African, but ancient civilizations. We're going to teach history, ancient history on Wednesdays, followed by chess. Thursday is going to be an arts day, arts and craft, where they can do their talents. And Friday, we're going to, let the children do some type of exercising to stay active. We're keeping Tuesday open, but hopefully eventually we can get some credit repair and some financial literacy going on, or we can, start helping the people get financially literate through the starting point. So, we started the school. It's doing good. Very proud. I wish that I guess Jason was kind of busy tonight, so he wasn't able to be here. But on behalf of NCRBG, I want to thank everybody. And I want y'all to understand that we don't have to all get along. We don't have to agree with everything with everybody. But what we can do is find our commonalities, the things that we do agree with, and we focus on that. And the things that we disagree on, we don't even worry about. We're just going to focus on what we do agree with so we can move forward together. Because we have been divided for too long. We have been divided and, classified as individuals for too long. We need to get back to being united by all means necessary. And with that, one of y'all can end this out in prayer. If not, I'm going to end it out my way.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Julie.
Almighty Father, God of Abraham, we thank you for health, strength, life. We thank you for who you are. We thank you for tonight's show. We thank you for Stuart and all the good works he's doing. I pray you continue to strengthen him and all who work with him. We pray that you continue to give him a creative spirit to carry on doing what is necessary to be done. Almighty Father, we're living in trying times. We pray, Lord, that you give us a spirit of discernment to understand what is of you and what is not of you, what to avoid and what to move forward in. Almighty Father, we thank you once again for this show. We pray for health and strength of everyone on this show. Thank you, Lord. Amen.